Welcome back to Leeds Lately. Before we get into this video, if you could just hit that big button down below, that would massively help me out. We are so nearly at 9k, and then it's on to 10k, hopefully before the start of the season. Also, before we get into this one, the Leeds Creator Cup is just around the corner. Get your tickets today via the link in the description. Adults tickets are £7, children £3, and it's all for Prostate Cancer UK. You can buy tickets on the door, but to make sure you don't miss out, make sure you go and get your ticket now in the description. Anyway, today's video then, we got some news overnight about Habib Diarra. Now, Fabrizio Romano's tweet reads, more on Habib Diarra and Sunderland exclusive story overnight. Documents are being exchanged with Strasbourg. Initial fee worth 31.5 million euros plus 4 million euros in add-ons. Medical already booked. Here we go, 100% confirmed. So somebody who was clearly very high up on Leeds United's list of targets is Habib Diarra, somebody who fits the profile of that kind of marauding box-to-box number 8, and somebody who Leeds have missed out on. And there's been a bit of kind of discourse within the Leeds United online community talking about this, of whether we should just stump up the money for players or whether we should be clever about where we spend our money. Now, the side of it that I fall on is that Leeds United are in a position now where the ownership and the people who have the money to spend, plus the scouting department, are at a point where they can see that once a price goes over a certain amount, it's not worth them paying for it, and it's worth them looking elsewhere. I think we've seen it all too many times, newly promoted sides overspending on individual targets and then really seeing bad times come from it. We saw a few years ago, I think it was 2022, Sheffield United signing somebody like Ryan Brewster for 23 million. I mean, even Leeds themselves did it for Brendan Aronson, signing for around 25 million. Other signings as well of a similar kind of price range. I think Sunderland have overspent. Habib Diarra is a very good player, 21 years old, captain in Strasbourg already and playing for the Senegalese national team, of course, scored against England recently. And he's a very good player, don't get me wrong. But I think a fee of around £30 million, which could rise a little bit as well, is overpaying for the mark, I think. And I think that Leeds are happy to go, do you know what? We have other targets elsewhere who are just as good or on a similar level where we can get them for a better price. So that's where I kind of stand on Habib Diarra. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Some people tend to think that we are being a pushover and that we are kind of just letting other teams come in and spend the money when we're faffing around deciding whether we should cough up the money or not. I don't think that's the case. I think Leeds went in with a bid. It was rejected and they thought, well, that's our maximum. We're not going to go higher than that. Let's start looking elsewhere. And then, of course, the papers, they continue to report these things way afterwards anyway. So that's where I fall on the Habib Diarra things. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Our other target then, who apparently we've renewed interest in, is Douglas Luiz. Now, the former Man City and Aston Villa man spent last season at Juventus. He signed for Juventus for £50 million or 50 million euros. And the rumoured price that they'd be asking for him, and actually his transfer marked value as well, is supposedly 30 million euros. Now, I asked a question in a kind of Leeds Creators group chat. Why would they be kind of willing to make that much of a loss on him? Apparently, Juventus are in some financial difficulties and need to come back with some more money. The new coach isn't really interested in having Douglas Luiz as part of his plans, and therefore getting some money back for him, recuperating some of that money, which obviously they won't have paid all of that to Villa yet, because it'll be paid over a certain amount of years. So I think it's important that we kind of note that there is a chance here with Douglas Luiz. Apparently Leeds have renewed interest in the player, and his wages are high. His wages are 160,000 euros a week. So that is huge. And for somebody like Leeds, who really aren't playing that many, paying people that much, it would be a huge outlay unless we can try to get him to drop the wage a little bit. But when we kind of look at the type of player he is, primarily this season he's been used as a DM for Juventus, or a number 6, and has played there for quite a few games. But his best position is probably a number 8, somebody who can sit just on the halfway line and then get forward when he needs to, whilst in the build-up, and shoot from distance as well, which is one of his strengths. When we look at whoscored.com, his strengths are characterised as his key passes, which we'll talk about soon in the statistics as well, because this bears out. His strengths are key passes, passing in general, taking set pieces and through balls. So again, that creative number 8 that we haven't really had. No significant weaknesses. And Douglas Luiz's style of plays, he likes to do layoffs, likes to shoot from distance, plays the ball off the ground often, so lobbed through balls, and commits fouls often, so breaking up that play in the midfield as well. So when we actually look at this season, it's nowhere near as bad as what you actually might think it is. When we look at his statistics, the players that he's been compared to, in terms of similar kind of output to him in terms of statistics, Piotr Zielinski from Inter, Nicolo Barella from Inter as well, Vitinha from PSG. So some really, really elite players up there with him in terms of his kind of statistics and stuff. So when we're talking about his attributes versus midfielders, he creates 3.98 shot creating actions per 90. So he passes it to the person who has a shot, or he passes it to the person who passes it to the person who has a shot. So is he involved in that attacking play? And yes, he is. With 3.98 per 90, that puts him in the 93rd percentile for midfielders. So he's way up there in the top 7% in Europe's top 5 leagues. For a number 8 to be creating that many chances and making that many key passes is a really, really great statistic to have. Passes attempted, 71.27, 91st percentile. So yes, could be slightly skewed by the fact that he's playing for Juventus, one of the best sides in Italy. So yeah, they're going to dominate the ball in most games. But he is willing to always want the ball, always ask for the ball, and then redistribute it to his teammates. So I think it's important to note that he is somebody who is really, really going to ask for the ball and be an out ball when you need him to. In terms of his pass completion, 85.6%, that puts him down in the 61st percentile. So just above average, but if he's taking those, if he's making those forward passes and taking those calculated risks, some of those passes aren't going to come off, and it's going to mean that you are going to lose the ball at times. But you'd rather have somebody who tries to be progressive, which bears out in his statistics as well. 5.49 progressive passes per 90. That puts him in the 69th percentile, and then progressive carries as well, 2.15 per 90, puts him in the 86th percentile, with successful take-ons being at 1.4, putting him in the 95th percentile. So basically, progressive passes, progressive carries, and successful take-ons. Does he pass the ball forward? Yes, he does. Does he carry the ball forward and take people on? Yes, he absolutely does as well. He's very average, though, for touches in the attacking penalty area and progressive passes received. So that states to me that he's more, like, obviously, he's far and above the talent of Joe Rothwell. But in terms of the mould of player, he's probably quite similar in terms of the fact that he won't run beyond. When we've talked about Noah Siddiqui and we've talked about Habib Diarra as well, we've talked about players who have been willing to go beyond the striker, end up in the box and actually finish things off. Whereas it seems to me, and from what I've seen of him when he was in the Premier League, when he was at Man City and Aston Villa, he was a player who kind of finishes his runs on the edge of the box, which again is why he likes to shoot from distance. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. He's just a slightly different mould of player than somebody like Habib Diarra or Noah Siddiqui in terms of where he does his running, which could play into more what Daniel Farke actually wants. When we look at his defensive statistics, not fantastic. 2.15 per 90 puts him in the 56th percentile. So very average for that. His interceptions, blocks, and clearances puts him in the 20th, 9th, and 11th percentile, respectively. So really below average for that. And aerials won 0.97 puts him in the 59th percentile, so above average. So it's not horrendous on the defensive front, but he isn't an out-and-out number 6. And I don't think that's where Leeds would be signing him to play if we were to sign him. Now, people still might think this is a ridiculous transfer, but if Juventus get to the point where they're kind of desperate, I think there's a deal to be done here, and somebody who could really, really, really give you a good chance of give you a good chance of surviving in the Premier League. Just looking at his previous squads here, I think I must have completely misremembered, because it says that he's only ever played for Aston Villa. He's never played for Manchester City. So I might be confusing him with somebody else on that front, but I do know who I'm talking about in terms of the actual player. But I just had a memory of him being playing for Manchester City. But either way, playing for Villa in the Premier League, from what I've seen of him, I think he would really suit us. Obviously, it's an ambitious transfer to go for, but if we can get him across the line, then it's a better transfer than what Habib Diarra is in terms of staying power in the Premier League. 27 years old, so just turned 27 as well, so he's the same age as me, but a bit younger. He's got some good years left in him. His contract does expire in 2029, so that might protect his value a little bit, but I think that if we could get him across the line, it would be seen as one of the signings of the season for a newly promoted side. I really do. It's ambitious. Can it be done? Maybe, but all I'm here to report is what type of player is he, how would he fit in the system, so that you guys can make your own opinions then. Thanks for watching Leeds Lately. Like I said, make sure you check out the Creator Cup in the description down below. Make sure you also check out my link for my Etsy page as well, where I sell Leeds United prints that have been designed by me, so you'll be supporting me as a creator as well. And then Back4 merch is down there as well. If you use my link and then use Leeds Lately 10, you'll get 10% off, and I'll get a small kickback as an affiliate link as well, just to be transparent on that. Thanks for watching Leeds Lately, and I'll see you in the next one.